A few weeks ago, I got an email that no small business owner likes to see. It said, I'd like to return my order and get a refund. The earrings weren't what I expected. And honestly, my heart sank. But what started out as disappointment ended up becoming one of my favorite customer stories in almost 9 years of business. Hey friend, welcome back to Sparkle and Shine. I'm your host, Cassandra, and this is the podcast where we talk about building a small business, chasing your dreams, and learning the real lessons along the way. Each week, I'll be sharing what I'm learning in my own business, the wins, the struggles, and the lessons that come along with it. So if you're building something of your own too, you're definitely in the right place. All right, let's get into today's episode. Today, I want to tell you the story of my first online return request and how curiosity, kindness, and a little creativity turned what felt like a loss into something really beautiful. So let's start at the beginning. I've been in business for almost 9 years now. Realistically, I've been actively selling for about 7 of those years because my first 2 years were strictly product development and learning different techniques. But honestly, I've got to say, I've really been fortunate when it comes to customer returns. I've only had a couple situations over the years, and they were all in person. One of my customers realized she was allergic to the earring hooks I had used, so she brought them back for a refund during the event. And when I got home, I was able to swap out the earring hooks so that I was able to resell them with clean, fresh earring hooks on them. And then I had another customer who had gotten home and she realized she already owned the exact same pair of earrings she had purchased. So she had contacted me and we had found another pair that she could exchange them for instead. Both situations were incredibly easy. There was no hard feelings, no drama, nothing like that. But just a couple weeks ago, I got my first online return request from someone I had never met before. She was a customer from California, and only 2 days after receiving her order, I got an email that simply said, I'd like to return my order and get a refund. The earrings weren't what I expected. And if you've ever owned a small business, you probably know that feeling. My stomach kind of dropped. Immediately, my brain started asking all of the questions. Did I miss something? Were my photos misleading? Did I make a mistake? Were the earrings damaged? I think anytime someone says they aren't happy with something you created, it's hard to not take that a little bit personally at first. But honestly, I really wasn't upset with her. I wasn't angry. I wasn't trying to convince her to keep them. More than anything, I was really just curious. I genuinely wanted to know what happened. What was the difference between what she expected and what she received? Because if there was something I could improve, whether it was my photography, my product descriptions, or even just the earrings themselves, I wanted to know. So I started the return process right away, and I asked her one simple question. The question I asked her was simply this: if you feel comfortable sharing, I would love to hear more about where the disconnect happened between what you were expecting and what you received. I am always striving to improve and offer my customers the best experience possible. Situations like this help me do exactly that. I wasn't asking her this because I wanted to argue with her. I wasn't asking because I wanted to convince her to keep the earrings. And I definitely wasn't trying to talk her out of returning them. I already sent the return label. I just genuinely wanted to understand. And if there was something about the photos, the colors, the size, or even the overall design that felt different in person, I wanted to know. Because if there was something I could improve for future customers, I wanted to learn from it. Honestly, I wasn't really expecting a response back, but she did respond. And the very first thing she said was, there was nothing wrong with the earrings. And I cannot tell you what a relief that was. because up until that point, my mind had been running through all the possibilities. Did I miss something? Were the photos misleading? Did I make a mistake? Was there something wrong with the earrings themselves? But no, she wasn't criticizing my work at all. She explained that she had been trying to replace a sentimental pair of earrings that her daughter had bought for her years ago while traveling in Paris. Then she had attached a photo of those original earrings. And honestly, once I saw that photo and read the story behind them, I couldn't stop thinking about it. At that point, it wasn't really about the return anymore. It wasn't about whether she was going to keep my earrings or get a refund. It became about this memory she was trying to hold on to. She wasn't looking for just any pair of earrings. She was looking for something that reminded her of that special pair she had gotten from her daughter. And I don't know, that just really stuck with me. So later that day, I went through my bead collection and started digging through everything I had. I wasn't trying to make an exact replica because I know I don't have the same exact beads, but I wanted to see if I had anything that could capture a similar feel to that Paris pair. And I did find a few beads that reminded me of the originals. So I ended up creating a version for her and sent her photos of that new pair along with the original one she purchased from me for comparison. And I want to be clear about something. When I emailed her, I wasn't trying to save the sale. I wasn't trying to convince her to not return the original pair. In fact, I fully expected the return to happen. I just thought she might enjoy seeing what I came up with. If she loved them, great. If not, that was completely okay too. There was absolutely no pressure. I just wanted to help if I could. Well, a little while later, I got another email from her. And the very first thing she said was, "Oh my gosh, they're perfect." I seriously smiled so big when I read that. She told me they were exactly what she had been hoping to find. Originally, she had planned to return my earrings and simply get a refund. In fact, before I ever sent her the photos of the custom pair, she had already decided she would probably keep my original earrings and gift them to a friend instead. But once she saw the new pair, everything changed. She asked if we could turn the return into an exchange instead. So that's what we did. She mailed the original pair back. I made and shipped the custom pair, refunded the original order once I received it, and she paid the difference for the new earrings. Honestly, I was just happy that she found the earrings she had been looking for all along. And I thought that was the end of the story. But a couple weeks later, after I knew she had received the custom pair, I decided to send her one more email. I simply asked how she was liking them. Not because I wanted another sale, not because I wanted a review. I was just genuinely hoping they had become the special pair she was searching for. And her response honestly made my entire week. She wrote, "Thanks, Cassandra. Your customer service is fabulous. Keep that up as you'll grow your business into a big success story. And now I have a fabulous story to remember every time I wear the new pretty earrings." I actually had to stop for a second after I read that because I realized this whole interaction had stopped being about earrings a long time ago. It really wasn't about winning the sale. It wasn't about avoiding a refund. It wasn't even about making a custom pair of earrings. It was about taking the time to understand another person's story. And I think that's something we can lose sight of as business owners sometimes. Every order comes from a real person. Every email comes from a real person. Sometimes they're celebrating something. Sometimes they're replacing something they've lost. Sometimes there's a story we know nothing about. If I had gotten defensive or immediately assumed that she was just unhappy with my product, I never would have learned that story. And instead, I got curious. And curiosity completely changed the outcome. Not because I saved the sale. Honestly, if she still wanted the refund after all that, I would have happily processed it. But the outcome wasn't the point. The relationship was. The connection was. And I think that's what I want Pretty Pineapple Bead to be known for. Yes, I want to make colorful jewelry that helps women feel beautiful and confident. But even more than that, I want people to feel cared for. Because years from now, she probably won't remember exactly how much those earrings cost. But I hope she'll remember how she felt. And to me, that's what great customer service is really all about. As we start to wrap things up today, these are the lessons I am taking with me. First, don't take every return personally. I know it's easier said than done, especially when you're the one creating the product. But sometimes there really isn't anything wrong with what you made. Sometimes it just isn't quite what the customer was looking for. And that's okay. The second thing it reminded me of is to stay curious. It would have been really easy for me to assume she just didn't like my earrings or to get defensive. And instead, I asked one simple question, and that one question completely changed the conversation. And finally, I was reminded that we're really in the people business. Yes, I make jewelry, but what I really hope I'm creating are moments, memories, and experiences that people carry with them. This customer isn't going to remember buying a pair of earrings from Pretty Pineapple Bead. She's going to remember the story behind them. And honestly, that's pretty dang special. So, if you're listening today and maybe you've received some criticism lately, or a refund request, or something that just made you question yourself, I just want to encourage you not to jump straight into defense mode. Take a breath, get curious, ask questions. You may discover there's a story you never expected. Not every disappointing moment is the end of the story. Sometimes it's actually the beginning of a better one. And I think that's exactly what happened here. This experience reminded me that customer service isn't really about saving a sale. It's about making people feel seen, heard, and cared for. Because at the end of the day, products are important, but people will always remember how you made them feel. And to me, that's the kind of business I want to keep building. If you've ever had a customer interaction that completely changed your perspective, I'd love to hear about it. Send me a DM over on Instagram at Sparkle and Shine Podcast, or come join the conversation over on Substack, where every week we take these podcast conversations just a little bit deeper. And if you're enjoying the podcast, one of the best ways you can support it is by sharing your favorite episode with a fellow small business owner, or leave a quick review on your favorite podcast platform. It really does help more people discover the show. Thank you so much for spending part of your day with me. I hope this episode reminded you that behind every order is a real person with a story. And sometimes all it takes is a little curiosity and kindness to create an experience they will never forget. Until next time, keep showing up with heart, believe in yourself, and keep shining.